You're looking to be more creative and innovative? And one of the keys to unlocking your potential is an entrepreneurial mindset. I like to say it's permission granted. No one is successful overnight.
Keep on keeping on.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at in the world, and welcome to day 22 of 31 days to Paddock 2, Put a Dent in the Universe with me, SEAN GRIFFIN. You know, one of the most valuable and I think meaningful outcomes from producing and starting to run 31 days to Paddock 2 has been reconnecting with old friends, old partners, old associates, old board members, old clients, new clients, existing clients, old partners, new partners. It's been really, really amazing to reconnect. And the reconnection now is on a much more meaningful level. The dialogue is much more meaningful and in-depth. And one of the things that I keep noticing, and I want to be really clear about this with everyone, the world has changed. There's no going back to what was. Pre-COVID-19 doesn't exist. Everything has fundamentally shifted. And it appears to me that a lot of people are not understanding or facing this reality or embracing it with the opportunity to create a new life. And so I just want to be clear. Everything has changed fundamentally. There is no going back to what was. It's gone. It's in the past. We can only go forward. What's changed as examples? Well, more and more people are going to be working from home. More and more businesses are going to shift from physical locations to actually allowing people to work wherever, remote, wherever they're at, wherever they want to work from. This is going to become more of the normal, and companies are going to allow, more and more companies are going to allow people to work wherever they're at, which means no more office spaces, no more need for building spaces. This is going to change things fundamentally in terms of how everyone works and the mobility of our world. It's been there for 20 years, plus years. I've been working remotely and mobile and running companies from my phone anywhere in the world where I am. So it's been possible, but now it's going to happen. The way that we engage with people, interact with people will change. Restaurants experiences, bars will change. People's behaviors will be back off and will become more family focused, more quieter. You know, it takes 21 days to change a behavior. And so when people get into it, when I'm coaching and working with people and CEOs and other executives, one of the things we always try to do is find ways to identify a 21-day action plan to change a behavior, to improve a characteristic that they're working on improving. We're now in 3 months, we're moving to 3 months of behavioral change that will last and go into the future. And so whatever your notion is of what was and going back to what was, I'm imploring you and asking you to really, really sit with the fact that nothing's going to be the same. And when you look at almost 40 million people unemployed here in the United States and growing, and then if you take that extrapolated globally, the world has changed fundamentally and everything's different. We are likely to enter a new economy. We are likely to see a new world order emerge. These are the type of experiences that create new world orders. Different people in charge, different countries, positioning. It's a chess game. We need to be playing very smart right now as the world is changing. And I want to let you know, anybody who claims that they are an expert in any way, whether it's a financial expert, whether it's a real estate expert, whether it's a business building expert, in the time that we are in now, is fooling themselves and you as well. There are no experts today. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know how to effectively move forward. We don't know much right now. And so this is a glorious opportunity, because in these moments like this, which we get to live through and we are living through now, there are greater opportunities than there have ever been. While there's tragedy in the current situation and people's lives will be lost, there is more opportunity now than ever. and to shift your minds and realize we are moving in a new direction and there are new opportunities, and how do you maximize those? This is one way I'm going to highlight for you, and that is you have a chance now to design your own life going forward. Design it by intention. What have you always dreamt of doing? Have you dreamt of being that person who runs a show, a cooking show, a food cooking show online? Have you been that person who has a dream of creating a fashion company that designs different fashions? Have you had a design for a new and Paddock 2 way for people to work together online? This is the time to start working for and being more intentional and design the life you've always dreamt of. Whatever you've had sitting on your shelf, it's time to pull it off the shelf, dust it off, and start thinking about what can I do different now with my life? What can I create that's different? Even if you have almost zero, you still have greater opportunities now than you've ever had, because there's more resources, more people want to help, more people want to be supportive. Right now is a golden opportunity to change and design the life you've always dreamed of living. Can't emphasize this enough. And you can do anything you want to do if you're willing to work hard enough and you believe strong enough. Today is a golden opportunity, but we cannot be looking at the past for our comfort. We need to be looking forward at what's possible, because nothing is the same as it was just 2 months, 3 months ago. And when you are able to process that and sit with it and think through that, you're going to be in a far better position to move forward in a changing world. Or my concern for those people who don't get on board and don't realize how much the world has changed and never going back to what it was before, they will be left behind, and they won't even know they've been left behind until it's too late. The world has changed, everyone. Nothing is the same. Look for opportunities to expand your dreams, those goals, those aspirations you've had all your life. Dust them off, pull them out, and now's the time to be visualizing and making your dreams come true. Never been a better time that I can see to make that happen if you can face the reality of the situation, which is everything's changed and nobody really knows what's on the horizon. I've had discussions, I don't remember which day it was, around how you crystal ball and see the future. Now's a good time to start crystal balling and see if your dreams align with where the future's going. You can do anything you want to do. And I look forward to hearing from you. You can always text me, WhatsApp me, any questions you have. 202-642-7089. Always here, always available. And I'm going to shift now to Amy and see, do we have a guest here, Amy? Waleed.
Hey, Sean, how are you doing?
Ramadan to you, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for hosting me today with you.
Thanks for being here. Wow. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been years since we last met or talked.
I know. I'm trying to think. Let's not think too hard about that. We're both looking very good, I would say. So.
Yeah, thank you. You look good yourself there.
Boy, when we first met, which was the first Cairo Startup Cup and at the first Extreme Build a Business weekend there in Cairo, 2012, June, right? Almost.
Correct.
Almost 8 years. So there you go. We've seen each other since then, but that was a transformational day. That changed my life. That experience changed my life for all time. And I'm wondering, maybe you can explain maybe a little bit about how it changed your life and trajectory of your business.
Well, it was a changing experience for myself there. Seriously, that competition that lasted for 5 months shifted my whole way of thinking. I was just like, when I talk right now to my employees, or to just give the audience the context there, when I joined the competition, WebKeys was just like 4 persons for a UX company in Egypt. Right now, we're 30 plus designers in 2 offices, San Francisco. Thank you. And we have more than 200 clients. And in 2015, Google selected me to be a Google design expert of the Middle East. And they flew me back to California a few times. We landed on huge accounts like Microsoft, Boop, Pfizer. It's a lot, Kumu. So long story short, when I talk to my staff every year on the retreat, the annual retreat that we do, I always label that competition, like before that, it was an undercovered freelancing work. It was a company for 2 years, but it was freelancing, just a group of freelancers out there. After that, everything got organized. We knew where to go. We started to think and plan correctly to grow. We shifted our business model a few times. We shifted services. We grew from a UX company to a product design consultancy firm. And right now, we are the first service design company in Egypt as well. So I can't thank you enough for that competition. It put my mind where it should have been. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And, thank you. You reinforced me, in particular, you reinforced for me on that trip why I do what I do. And, it's transforming people's lives, and business is kind of the way to do that, helping people build businesses. Why don't you tell us, give us your email address so we can promote this, and then explain what you do a little bit so we can get a little plug here for anybody who's looking for the services you're providing.
All right, I just typed my email for Amy, the producer.
Yeah, perfect.
So what was the question again? I got lost. I'm sorry.
Well, the question is, I just wanted to share a little bit about what WebKeys does so that you can give a little plug. If anybody out there watching needs the services you're providing, I mean, you are spectacular in what you do, and the quality and the detail is what makes a big difference. We've always been impressed.
Well, simply WebKeys started as a UX agency. That was 10 years ago, that before all the hype and the buzzwords of the UX. And while the UX term got picked up, and people start to learn UX and that stuff, we shifted more towards a product consultancy firm because we focused on a very unique edge, if we might say so, in the technology stack. People either do designs or do development, and sometimes add this to that. But we covered the whole design strategy, UX research, and design, and part of the development that actually impacts the user experience in terms of micro interactions. So we know how to build a product. And we discovered that while we were delivering UX services, we found out that actually we provide consultancy on a product design. We help company pivoted their products based on the research that we do, based on the results that we found. So the more we dig deeper to produce proper product design, we found ourselves getting engaged into the business and adding our experience working with a lot of products, 200 products right now, or 200 clients with more than 200 products. Yeah. Actually, this is the number of the clients, and most of the time our customers return back for more than one product. So we served so far 8 countries, 200, as I said, with big names, literally as Microsoft. We were responsible for one of the flagship products for Microsoft Global. It's called Lewis. That's actually the layer that supports Cortana, the personal assistant. We worked on the below. Yeah, that was huge. We worked with Kumu in the Valley. Kumu are one of the huge video enterprises. And they had some issues. They were in the leader quadrant in the Gartner report, but then they had some issues, and they're not there anymore. So they seeked us in the beginning to start designing few screens. When we start working on that, we found out that the problem is not with the screens. The screens, they have issues, but they have a lot of different issues than the screens. Right. So we talked to the management and we said, guys, what about just doing the proper research so we can design a design strategy for you guys so you can implement. It's way beyond the colors and the layout of the screens, which they did. And we worked on a 4 or 5 month project research. We interviewed customers of their customers, their customers in 5 countries. We interviewed staff in 6 countries. It was a huge project. The final presentation of the design strategy, which they applied later, they got them back to lead the leader quadrant in the Gartner report 2 years later.
Wow.
And you can check that on their website. So this is just a glimpse of what we do. So whatever, if you have a product live right now, or if you want to design or release a new product, even if it's a small startup, we know how to help, start MVP, start small, go fast, and adapt as we go. We have clients in Europe with very small startups. Hopefully soon they boom.
Yeah, they grow, right?
Yeah.
So, this is obviously not been a clear road, and now you've moved more into strategy, right? You're helping develop the strategies and designing not just the applications or the look and feel, the UX. You're also designing the strategies for implementation.
Yes.
Which is critical, right? Because your mind is in that, and sometimes you can't. It's good to get out of the fishbowl like you do, and so you give a different perspective. But that process from going where you were to where you're at now was not an easy one. I'm quite confident. What?
No.
Yeah. So on my question is around what techniques have you used to continue to move things forward and adopt and adjust? Because it's not necessarily pivots you're talking about in terms of your business. Yeah. It's more of an evolution and just meeting the needs of a customer. But what is it what kind of technique do you do, or what's your mindset that allows you to adjust and modify as you go to take advantage? Because I remember distinctively when we talked about a referral program from existing customers, that was like a new concept, but you embraced it. And the next day you came back, you're like, this is working. This was a great way to go. You just took it, you ran. So what is your mindset that allows you to be open and see where to go as you go along? And this is for our audience to understand how to just think different and take advantage of opportunities that are in front of them that they may miss.
Okay. So what I usually do is it's a few points. Number one is that I don't have any issues stopping or just collapsing something that I started. If it's not working, I just start in a different direction. Mm-hmm. I never think that, oh my God, I spent 9 months doing that, I have to go on. No, if it's not working, then it's not working. So it's okay. And I just fresh start. That's one thing. Two, I always look for any kind of opportunity. It doesn't have to have a fancy name. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a pivot. It doesn't have to be anything. I just speak out loud of where I want to go. I do this a lot. I mix being vocal, verbally aloud, and whiteboards. I have tons of whiteboards in the company and my house. Mm-hmm. And I just put what I want to do out there. Like, all right, I'm going to share this with you. Like, just before the COVID-19, this Jan 2020, for the previous 2 months, like November and December, I just wrote on the board where I am right now, where I want to go in terms of like even for financials, all that stuff, and in terms of services and in terms of countries that I want to penetrate. And I just started plotting that on the board. It was late 2019, so I just put there for 2020, 2021, and 2023, right? And I know that personally, I don't believe that anybody can ever do a detailed plan for the next 5 years. Things change on 6 months, aside of what happened with COVID. Let that alone, that's another issue, right? Even before that. So what I did is that I put a lot of details in the 2020, mid-level details for the 2021, and just a couple of vague, very high-level points for the 2023.
Okay.
Because I know that's going to update, right? But I just had to put out this there. And then I started to discuss that with my partners. So that's what I do. I get vocal a lot. I question a lot. What I want to do? What am I doing right now? What the hell is going wrong? What do I want to change? I don't have to have a solution. I don't have to have answers for that. I know that I need to ask the right questions to myself, and then things will unfold automatically. Once you embrace and accept that, you don't have to have answers.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, and I brought this up with Mortaza, who's a Pakistani entrepreneur, partner on projects, and he's capable of dropping projects as well. And I've learned how to do this over time, where it's just not going to work. So okay, it's over, on next. Okay, where are we moving on to? That's a hard thing. A lot of people, majority of people that I've found, are attached to that idea and think this is my only idea. If I don't, do this idea, I'll never have another one, or it won't come to me. And this is my last chance. And so, which I'm always like, well, you like that idea? There's 100 more behind it, and those are probably better. what is it in your mindset that if you could explain that helps you? What is the process you go through when you're letting go of a project? Because this is important. Like, a project's not going to work, the endeavor's not going to work. You need to drop it. It's better to drop it quicker. How do you do that? Let's just hone in on that one area, because that is a powerful skill, Waleed, and very few people have that.
All right. So dropping off projects or goals, for me, I have always one condition before I drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do everything I could possibly do? Yes or no? If not, then I pursue it again in a different way, in a very flexible way. If I did everything I could possibly do and didn't work, I just drop it. And let me give you an example with that.
Great.
To start the US office, right? So WebKey started in Egypt, Cairo, 2010, right? We joined the competition 2012 and getting the first prize or first position in that competition. Part of the prize was a trip to Silicon Valley, which was my very first ever trip to the United States, right?
Yeah.
And when I went there, and I found a lot of opportunities that we can provide, like services. I was not threatened by the people providing the service. So far, the market is way bigger, and our quality is competitive. So I decided that I want to start WebKey's office in the United States, in Silicon Valley, right?
Right.
So now let's check this out. I tried that 3 times, and every time I nearly spent every penny I have. Let me tell you about the first time I did that. I wanted to open the office remotely. I asked a lot of mentors in Egypt. They recommended that I should go there, stay there, get to understand the culture. The movies is one thing, but the real American life is one different thing, right? So I took that advice, and I decided to fly to the United States and live there for 3 months. But the thing is that at that point in time, we didn't have enough cash flow or financials to support that. So I calculated the amount of money I need to at least, survive in there. And it turned out to be, it's like every penny I have in the company and in my personal bank account. So, and it was very risky. That's another thing. I'm not afraid of risks. Like, what the hell is going to happen, right? What's the worst thing is going to happen? But if I didn't do it, I'm going to keep asking myself a lot, what if? And I hate the what ifs. So I do it. So I literally took every money out of my house and my company, and I flew, and I didn't even leave money to cover the salaries of the second month. I decided I'm going to fly there. It's either going to work or not, but I'm not going to just keep thinking of what if I flew to the United States. Anyways, I stayed there 3 months. I was running out of my money, completely out of money. I asked one of my friends to pay the salaries back in Egypt, and even to send some money to my wife, because I left literally zero. And on the other hand, because I felt so much responsible of taking that money, I decided that I'm not going to spend any dollar in times of leisure. Like, if I decided not even to buy ice cream. I'm just gonna eat food that get me to live, but I'm not gonna enjoy the ice cream while people out there in Egypt not getting their salaries. Long story short, I spent 3 months. I learned a lot. I didn't close any deals, and I was hoping to get a deal. And my flight was on a Saturday. I remember that. I closed the deal Friday night. I was flying back. I was literally shattered. I was like, oh my God, I spent everything. It's just stupid. What did I do? And then I closed the deal Friday night. I had my suitcases packed, everything. I was flying Saturday midday, if I remember correctly. But I closed the deal. I got the down payment, and I went back happy. Anyway, I went back. Things started to roll on. But then I decided I want to scale, so I wanted to hire salespeople. And again, I invested everything I have remotely.
Let's take time out here. Time out for a second.
Sure.
Okay, let's just stick with this, because this is
okay.
Interesting what you're talking about. Because first of all, before you quit a project, you make sure you've exhausted every option and that you've done everything you possibly can do. And
yes.
then when it doesn't work, it's time to drop it, because I've literally done everything I can, and I'm okay with that because I've done it.
Sure.
And then if you haven't, you continue to try, but you try it in a new and different way.
Yes.
Right. And okay, that's really
On
good.
a-
Yeah, but that way, in this process that you have, you've exhausted everything you possibly do, at least that you know of and you're capable of.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
Yes.
Now,
True.
now, there's another piece to this I want to tie into because we're running out of time. But what you brought up was something really, really, really interesting and purely entrepreneurial, and that is you went to Silicon Valley with an intention and a belief that you were going to be able to turn that into new projects, new gigs, and that you brought a competitive product and service to the market. And you went to Silicon Valley. And then you stayed there, and then the last day before you're leaving, you closed.
Yeah.
That was 3 months. You were there for 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we hear stories, and you know stories, and you've seen it in Egypt. There are just so many businesses that have been starting up there that they get right to that edge, and then they give up and quit. You didn't give up and quit. Although you might have if you got back to Egypt and you didn't have any more money, right? But you didn't, and it worked. What is that? What is that? How do you overcome that fear? You had to be nervous and uncomfortable probably pretty much that entire 3 months you were in Silicon Valley, and particularly when you had to call up and ask people to help you out with money and finance. How do you manage that kind of fear and uncomfortableness that's inside of you and processing and still keep going forward? How do you do that?
Oh my God, I just had goosebumps here when I remember those days. Because,
yeah, man. Because those were the days that tested you, and you shine like a pearl because you got beat up and pummeled and tortured.
Well, let me tell you one little detail out there. My flight was after 2 months and 1 week, right? And those 3 weeks, I extended them. I changed my flight because I found I still have extra $600, which can get me another 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I extended my flight, and I closed the deal before that with 1 day. So how do I get with the fear?
How do you overcome the fear that's inside of you? Because it had to be.
I don't overcome it. You can't overcome fear. You just have to live with it. That's the thing. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, but you cannot be it. You just live with it because it is going to be there. I'm there alone, completely in a continent that's way, way, way from my home. I don't know the market a lot. It's completely new services into the market. I'm running out of money, no cash flow support. Actually, I start making friends out there. Kristen there gave me one hell of support, and her family. I started to know people, and actually it was very, very surprisingly, and I have to admit that the American people turned out to be very, very, very kind. Not that I had a different image before that, but he was so kind in a very surprisingly way and very helpful. I remember that. And I learned one thing from you in the competition when you said, ask people for help.
That's right.
I remember that, right? So actually I turned on my contact list and I sent email to everyone I know in the United States, which actually were like 7. And one of them, actually I don't remember her name, but she was in the Hillary campaign. Remember that? She was in the Hillary campaign. Yes, Shelley.
Shelley Porges.
Yes, Shelley. So, and actually, I emailed Shelley, and I thought she's not going to remember me. She's not going to do anything. She called me, and she kept listing in names who can help me in that situation. And after we hang up, she emailed them, and she emailed me the contacts, and she said, start talking to those people.
Shelley Porges, one of the most incredible humans on the planet, and just honored that worked out.
Yeah. So back to your question.
Yeah,
I don't think you can. Come again?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a question. You asked her a question. Sorry.
No, I was saying back to your question about the fear. I don't think there's a way to overcome fear. I don't think fear is meant to be overcome. You just live with it until you get comfortable. It's going to go away, but you can't beat it. It's going to be there because new circumstances, you're doing new stuff, you're going for a new project, you're taking risks. How can any human do that and without fear? I don't define bravery as the negative of fear. Bravery is doing while while you're afraid. Keep going on. I had a lot of tension in my, like, back then, those 3 months, for the first time ever in my life, I start to have, I don't know what you call that in English, like pimps or something in my skin, all over skin, out of the stress. I was so much stressed.
It had to be.
But yeah, but in the moment, I have to tell you that the night I closed that deal before my flight, I went and I bought an ice cream, a big ice cream. Seriously, I did that.
That was
I said,
reward.
now I can buy ice cream. And I have
It's all for an ice cream. The whole process of being positioned this ice cream. That probably was the best tasting ice cream you ever.
Yeah, ever. I just kept eating.
Never get better than that one. Well, I mean, this is great. I mean, I have more questions, but we're out of time right now. Would you come back again in the future?
Yeah, of course, definitely. And, thank you so much, Sean, for hosting me.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure and always fun to see and talk to you again.
Thanks for inspiring so many people, Wally. You're an inspiration to me as well, and I can't wait to see you again in person and give you a big hug.
Thanks, man. Thanks, bro.
Bye, Wally.
Thanks, Amy. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, as always. Amy, thank you for helping produce the show and making it work so great.
Hey, there you go.
I couldn't do it without her. Thanks, Wally. Well, you know, what we didn't get into with Waleed is he was part of that Spring Arab revolution there in Cairo, and I wanted to get more into that. So maybe on our next show we'll talk to him about how he addressed the fear and desire to see change in his country that's led him now to be as successful as he is with his business. So just again, Waleed, you're a huge inspiration to so many people. Can't wait to have you back, and thanks for teaching us how to do it afraid. Amy, do we have another guest? Or I should say, who's our next guest? Minhaj.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I couldn't be much better these days, Minhaj. And you know, every day is like this kind of a magical day. I don't always know who's going to be on the show, so I've designed this to be a little surprise because I want no script, you know, at least for the 31 days we're doing now. And but look, I get to see you. How are you doing, Minhaj?
Well, I think you know, there is probably no way I can describe how am I doing. Just I can give you my last 48 hours. I think I slept barely for maybe 8 hours.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm still going strong. I think you know, so much that we can do, particularly when we can come together. So a lot of people that we thought we are, you know, really tough competition to each other. We would never want to sort of, you know, compromise on our boundaries. We're working together and getting things done. Yeah. So over the last couple of days, we have seen 600 entries to something that the government has, you know, called out for. So to solve COVID problems in Bangladesh. So, you know, together with a lot of other people, of course, we have been, you know, from behind the scene, have been pushing it through. And at the same time, with my team, you know, taking everything online. So as you were saying at the beginning, you know, life is not going to go back to where it were. So we are probably productizing everything that we can. So we know that, you know, every little bit will be done differently going forward.
Minhaj, let me back up here a little bit so that we can give the audience some perspective. So Minhaj, you're in Bangladesh, Dhaka, right? You're Dhaka right now?
Yes.
Dhaka. And Minhaj has run our Bangladesh Startup Cup, but also has been running lots of entrepreneurial programs. And I would claim you've turned into a systems change entrepreneur. You're more of a systems change person than an entrepreneur ecosystem person. So it's evolved over time because you've been involved in so many different areas. And it's not just in Bangladesh that Minhaj works. He works around the world. So changing people's lives, putting a dent in the universe every day. You also were one of the first I noticed and observed to go online with a show. Like, and almost like immediately after COVID, I was like, wow, man, you move fast. Because Amy and I were talking about it, and you were doing it, and I'm like, Amy, Minhas is still live. We got to get live now. And so, how's that show going? And tell us a little bit. Is there a link or somewhere we can promote it for people who want to check it out?
So we have actually done 6 episodes of it.
What's it called?
MA interviews.
Can you type that up so that Amy, can you type that up in your sidebar?
Yeah.
You can post it up here. I want to make sure people see it, or the website where they can go or how they can plug in. And because you've been doing some interesting shows, you've been doing shows around how to secure funding, still secure funding in this time, how to run your business, how to reinvent your business. I'm just curious, how's it been going?
So on the 20th of March, we were supposed to do a masterclass on investment raising. So it was supposed to be a week-long program.
Okay.
So we had number of speakers from around the world. So somebody, another friend of mine, whose name is also coincidentally Walid. So he was supposed to fly from Finland. And on 17th of March, just 3 days before, we had to decide that we would work from home. Mm-hmm. And we looked into what's happening around the world, and we decided that the best thing that we could do at that moment was to postpone the show, postpone the masterclass. Mm-hmm. And we thought, hang on, I mean, it's one thing that we have to sort of stop doing the physical event, but that doesn't mean that we cannot still be useful to our audience, our constituency, which are largely startups.
Right.
So what can we do now that we are locked in home, and when people are still there, people are also stuck at their homes. So we reached out to friends like those who were supposed to come for the masterclass, and they were very willing and happy to come on my show. So one of the first people that I could book was Sajid. You might have met him.
Yeah,
he was one of the judges for Startup Cup back in 2014, and since then we have done so many different things together. So he is a seasoned investor. He has, I think, 7 unicorns under his belt, and he invested in all of them when they were pretty early, like they were probably $10,000 ticket size for him, at an early stage, and now they're all unicorns.
Wow!
So you can imagine how savvy he is. Oh wow, beautiful! I like that, Avi.
You said the magic word, man. Every time there's
I do like
that. Unicorn pop up.
Okay.
Welcome
so I'm sure
days to Paddock 2, Minhas.
Yeah, you are probably hearing Azan as well from the background. I hope I can still go on. Is that okay?
You can keep going.
Okay, sure. So he was game, and we just hurriedly put together a show, and it was done on a free version of the Zoom. So it got cut off at 45 minutes, and people still came back. And we were supposed to go for an hour, and people were still sending questions. And at that time, we were thinking we would just do one.
Right.
Honestly. And then a few other people reached out and said, when is your next show? So then we had to come up with the next one. And then we went on for a while. And then we did a bit of, let's say, working from home, mental health, legal. So we kind of built on whatever questions we were getting from people.
Yeah.
And then we realized that also the team has been doing overtime to put together the show, because all of a sudden we all became show crew, and we had to sort of catch up with technology, with production, with background stuff, and so much. So we were also getting tired. So we decided, okay, we will do it until the 6th episode, and then we will probably learn from it and see how we can productize even that show. So we actually did that until I think the very first day or day before Ramadan. So we got that done, and now after Ramadan, from June 1, together with a few other partners, we're actually bringing an COVID accelerator, if you like, for government-backed startups. So there will be a different, multiple varieties of startups, some early stage, some late stage. So this will be more like a resilience program for them. So they can, pivot if they need to. They can also maybe find out more strategies to preserve their cash, and maybe also how to pivot, and then at the same time start preparing for a post COVID reality, which will be absolutely different than what they were operating at before.
Very.
And also people reaching out to us, and now that we have done it, a lot of collaboration proposal came in. So people that we have never thought we would have partnership with. You might have met someone called Kaziem Ahmed. So he is one of the finest trainers in Bangladesh on leadership and management. He is one of the management gurus here, and he was there with us actually when we launched Startup Cup back in 2014 in Bangladesh. He gave his time voluntarily, so it was a great opportunity to reconnect with him after a long period of time. And we have been discussing how he can help me and how I can help him. So we figured out actually there are so much of common grounds that we can do together. So hopefully we can bring one more show with him, and that becomes one of the product offerings that we will bring to the market. So a lot of internal, I think, team building has happened over this period of time. So we had a baking competition. We baked pudding. And then we tried to sort of be very creative. So the competition was, what could be most innovative way of doing it. Uh, so we tried it.
Who won?
Yeah.
Who
So
won?
I think
What was the most creative pudding?
So what was the most creative?
Yeah, innovative, creative pudding.
Yeah. So I think Shaila, you have met my wife Shaila, and Ariba, my daughter, and Zara. So I had to kind of outsource it. I was not able to do it myself.
That's the innovation, or is that the creativity? Outsource.
So they put together a pudding that didn't have any milk. So one of my colleagues cannot tolerate milk. So in honor of him, so he was like, telling us that, why should it be a pudding competition? Because it involves milk, and that I can't tolerate milk. I said, there are puddings that can happen without milk. Let's try that. So we made a pudding out of China grass, pineapple, and I think mint and stuff like that, without using any milk at all. And I can actually share the photos with you at some point.
Okay.
It tasted amazing. It looked amazing. And I thought, because I didn't do it, because my wife and my children did it, so outsourced it. Yeah, it was really nice. And my team members did make a lot of, for a lot of them it was first time. And funnily, one of the colleagues, who was milk intolerant, so he had to leave his dormitory and come to our office and stay in the office. So his story is just the opposite. People went to home and they were working from home. He was working from office and living in office. So even him being able to make a pudding out of whatever he had, and everybody joining for the time together, I think amazing. In just 2 months time, what we have made possible. And last night, so funnily, one more on that and I'll stop. So I got my day done at midnight.
Okay.
And then he reached out to me and said, we got to have a meeting. We need 10-15 minutes of your time. So I said, okay, let's do it. Then we got into Hangout first, and then seems like it will take a bit of time, and we needed to record what we were saying. So we transferred to Zoom in, let's say, 45 minutes. Now we have, by the way, we have bought Zoom, so we can use it as long as we need it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And believe me, and we started at 12 midnight, and we finished at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Time goes by faster at those hours. Time goes by faster.
Yes, absolutely. We didn't look at what time it was, and I think Tim is still working and waiting. So it's 8:15 p.m. now, and so we have a submission basically that needs to go out in next, let's say, probably 5-6 hours. So Tim has done their job, and they're waiting again for another midnight episode. Let's see what happens.
Welcome to the new world. Well, what I appreciate about what you're saying though is the experimentation level, and that was exactly what we're doing here. We're looking at this as kind of a micro experiment with 31 days to Paddock 2 and see, because believe me, our team here, we didn't have a clue what we were doing at the beginning, and it does take a lot of effort to produce just 1 hour each day. Minhas, and so congratulations. I think, and I checked out one show for a little bit. Maybe it was a recording, but I love what you're doing, and I'm really happy that you're finding a way forward with all the businesses you support in your community. But Minhas, one of the things that I've noticed about you that I really appreciate, besides your calmness, you're always calm, consistent calmness, no matter what the situation. But you've gone through a lot of ups and downs. You've had a roller coaster since we met 8, 9, whatever, how many years ago? A while ago. By the way, Mike Dodson's on this, watching the show from Tulsa. I know that Tulsa OU got involved with your work there in Bangladesh. Minhas, how do you keep going, right? How do you keep evolving? Because I've seen you shift and experiment and try different things, and just you shuck and jive and you move around and you adjust. And we just were talking about this with Waleed. I don't know if you were paying attention, but he can drop stuff, drop a project, which a lot of people have a challenge with once they get it. But you obviously have a similar characteristic. Although Better Stories has been consistent as your company, your activities have really moved around. Talk to us a little bit about how you stay open to new direction, but also how you know when to leave, or how you keep going. How do you keep going?
I don't know to what extent I'll be able to answer that, but I can talk about. I can keep going. You give me a clue and I can build on it. So,
but it's an internal thing, Minhas. You have an internal kind of engine. You have a mindset what I'm trying to do is help the audience understand this mindset that allows you to continue to push forward and not let obstacles slow you down or stop you from going from achieving your goals. So I'll stop talking.
Yep. So first 10 years or so in my life, I was in international development. And when I sort of left that industry, I think I was doing better than anybody else for my age and my background and my country. So I was, the last few jobs, I was public affairs head for BRAC, the largest NGO on the earth. And then I was DFID's communications advisor in Bangladesh. And then I had a short 1-year stint with UNICEF as well, as one of the senior communications specialists with them in Dhaka. So when I left those jobs, people couldn't swallow it, and they thought I was crazy, and I would agree with them. And literally, what happens, people dream to sort of finish their career with this kind of jobs because they're so well paid and so fulfilling, and so much of opportunities to make a dent in their own way, of course, in the universe. And then, back in those days, in the years 2008 and 9, when I was thinking what should be my next move, I was looking at outside, and I could somehow see through the future.
Okay.
I could connect a few dots. At that time, 65% of Bangladeshis were under 35, which is still, true. And they were starting to come out of universities and without much varieties of choices, for example. And, when I looked back, I saw that people were, some of the people with leadership qualities were aspiring to become politics in the past. And somehow people have grown an apathy towards politics by the time, we came out of universities. So, and that's a big void. I mean, for any country, if people are aspiring to become leaders, if they cannot, join politics, that's a big shame. So, on reflection, it's easy to understand, what was happening, but at that time, it was not very easy to understand. I could see people coming into volunteerism, for example. I could see people trying to do things to help out each other, but not much ability to define and not much recognition in the society what they were doing. And I had a mentor at that time in DFID that I was speaking to, and I was sharing with him that what if I help young people to start doing things that they want to do, and eventually help them transition to the leadership of the country. So I call it by a strategy leadership through entrepreneurship. And then he told me, by the way, there is a name for it, and that's called incubation. So he handed me out a report from, I think, UKBI, UK Business Incubator Association.
Yeah.
And that report actually had a lot of reference to NBIA's work in US. So from that report, I got into NBIA's report, and I read a lot about them. Then from those things, I went into InfoDev, World Bank's work, and I became quickly a member of all of them. And I learned that there are incubators, and accelerator was not a concept at that time, by the way, though that term was not born as yet. At least, for not in the currency. I think Y Combinator was born a few probably years later.
Yep.
And, soon I thought I can do an incubator. So I spent all my money. So almost like Walid, I sold everything that I had. And I don't know if there was one person who believed in me at that time was my wife, Shaila. So she said, I understand you were doing it because you believe in it, and I can imagine what we will be going through. She knew that it won't necessarily go to the right direction, but she let me do it. And I built the incubator, and after we have built it, we realized, we were super early, and we made the classic mistakes that now we tell people not to commit to. Without understanding the market needs, it's not, a right strategy to copy something just because it has worked elsewhere. And, the year 2013 was particularly, I think, most difficult. And then something also happened in the year 2012. Because of whatever contribution I was able to make before, I was invited to State Department IVLP program, and I was actually hosted by Oklahoma University. And I have been to Tulsa, I think, for 2 occasions on that trip. And I met a lot of friends, and I actually ended up somewhat, being able to join the NBIA annual conference. I think there is a saying that when you desperately want it, then the whole universe conspires to make it happen, and that's exactly happened at that time. So think of a lot of things that you would have needed to be able to attend one conference, because that was happening in one place on a particular occasion, like on a particular week and day and time. And on an IVLP program, for example, you have to enter via the same airport and exit via the same location. So it was Atlanta for me, and guess what? I mean, their conference was happening in Atlanta, and was exactly timed to be at the very end of my 5 weeks program. So all that I needed to do was extend, for me the stay for a couple of days, and being able to sort of then join the conference, and that made a huge difference in the way I have learned about things, and I have understood how to do things. So on the other hand, when I came back home, I realized that a lot has changed on the home front as well, because I was not there for 5 weeks or 6 weeks. A lot of my team members at that time took it easy, and a lot of things that was committed from my side was not delivered, and 2013 was particularly difficult. So on one of those days, I was desperately looking for a model that I could learn about and customize to suit the purposes of Bangladesh. And then I stumbled upon, Startup Cup, and I reached out, and I got, I think, a very prompt response. And it was almost like, when are you starting up? So I said, hang on, I'm not going to go through the same chain of mistakes that I have gone through. So I will want to understand if people really want it.
Right.
So I actually went to then join the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, and
where was
then
that?
2013.
Yeah, where was it?
In Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur, that's right.
So yeah.
Malaysia,
so
right? Kristen.
Yeah, so Kristen, I met Kristen there. Yeah. So that was kind of my my way of trying to find out if this will be something that I can do. I was ready to invest a bit more before I commit to longer term to this. So then I took the entire curriculum and everything, and I realized that I have to do two things. One, I have to customize it heavily to sort of adapt to Bangladesh culture. Second, I have to first learn if people are really desperately wanting to have it. So then, I was able to ride on my relationship with the IVLP program and Oklahoma University. So they were coming back on an exchange visit. By the way, how much longer we have? I mean, this
here a little bit. I think that's a great story, first of all. And I think what it weaves and what I was trying to get to, and we have like a minute or two, is like that entire journey you just described was one of not giving up. You have a determination inside of yourself to find a way forward. And again, I've seen you do this time and time again, where you're trying to modify, customize, adapt as you go. What I'm trying to understand, and what I want you to help the audience understand, is what's your mindset that allows you to have the openness and flexibility, but also the focus and determination to make something happen. So there's this adaptation you're doing constantly to modify, and perhaps, and it's possible that your environment is part of that, where you live in an environment where if you're not resilient and you're not, you don't have strength, or you can't pull your boots up, you're gonna be challenged just to survive, right, in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And so maybe your environment's part of it. Let's talk to this for a second. We literally have only a couple minutes now, Minhas.
Sure. I think I will probably wanted to say something here, that when I look back in last 11 years, I have literally, I think I have got more than 10,000 hours given to startups.
Yeah.
And I have delivered 14 accelerators, and I have supported 480 plus entrepreneurs in Bangladesh and in the world directly.
Yep.
So I think, and when I compare between, one accelerator to the other, it's the gulf of difference. And it's because, I always challenged myself. I never settled. I thought, I can do something a lot better next time. So by the time, I have delivered the second one, my first model has become already obsolete. And I didn't have to go out there and do anything to sort of remain ahead of the curve or do something that kept on being the avant-garde in the domain where I'm working. So I think probably that mindset that I have to keep on doing better, and I have to keep on proposing value that nobody else can do in that space or sphere better than me, probably was something that I can, on reflection, share with you.
You're going to hang a hat on that, because that's internal. That's a drive that you have inside of yourself that nobody else, it's yours, right? And I'm going to guess that you compete not against other people, but yourself, right? That's what it sounds like.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So how can anybody else compete with you, Minhaj? Because you're competing with yourself while everybody else is competing with everybody else, right? And I think that it's a beautiful thing. Compete with yourself to always improve yourself. And you live that every day. And it's just my great honor to call you a friend, Minhaj. And thanks for being here. And thanks for Mike Dodson for showing up from Tulsa. We also have Michael Baines. He's excited about being here with you. And I just want to say thank you, Minhaj. And
thank you.
We'll talk about how we can bring you back on the show. And maybe what we do is we do a specific show around growing entrepreneurs, because you definitely have a lot of experience with that across diverse cultures.
I think we can do reverse. I can invite you to one of my shows and have it, open for Bangladesh audience as well.
Anytime, Minhaj. I'm there for you. Anytime.
Thank you so much. Really looking forward to.
Appreciate it. See you again soon.
Appreciate it.
One day.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, as well.
Yes, thank you, Amy. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'll say. Wow, that hour went by fast. Let's wrap this up here. So when we think about this, design your own life. Now's the time. Use visualization. Write it with a pen on a sketchbook. Design your life. What life have you always wanted to create? Now is the greatest time to do that. We learned from Waleed how to let go of projects. So doing micro experimentations, we've learned from Gary Schoeniger. What you want to do is little micro experiments, and as you go along, keep going as those micro experiments show positivity. Let them go when they don't. When you've exhausted all your efforts and all your different options to be able to move that project forward. And then with Minhaj, find that place inside of yourself that's competing with yourself to be better, to be the best. It's not competing with other people, competing outside of yourself. It's competing with yourself. That's what you want to do. That's how you'll go far. I wish you luck. I wish you a great day. We'll be back tomorrow, same padded 2 time, same padded 2 place. Thank you very much.
Not so quick.
Oh, not so quick.
You still have to pull your lottery. Your name.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Amy. So this is why I'm kept on track. So Amy, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have our third person. Her name is Chu Nguyen. You are the lucky winner of 1 hour of one-on-one visual coaching, constantly drawing. And we're going to take your business to the next level. Can't wait to engage with you. Now I can say it. See you tomorrow. Same padded 2 time, same padded 2 place.
You got to never ever give up. Keep it up, keep it up. Never ever give up. Keep it up, keep it up. Never ever give up. Keep it up, keep it up. Never ever give up. Keep it up, keep it up. Griffin walks for life.
Believe in yourself and you'll go far.